Zimbabwe cash crisis worse.
Talking about Venezuela once again.
Systemic important banks. They removed the 1,000 monetary awareness.
Anti-government protests in Nicaragua are unusual, but they're happening now. It started when pensions were cut by 5% and employees' social security contributions were raised slightly.
I am here because I'm indignant. I'm indignant that my grandparents are going to receive 5% less of their already anemic pension after having worked for 45 years. That is not money that are being lent. That is money that they already paid in. So it bothered me. It bothered me, and I could not remain sitting any longer.
So welcome to another RTD News update. And as you can see, Nicaragua has been very busy over the last 72 hours plus, and so it all has to do with the idea of President Daniel Ortega there hinting at the idea of doing some reforming with the taxes there as well as the pension system there. The people took to the street and rioting and whatnot, and a lot of people lost their lives and a lot of stores were looted. And so that's just what happens in a country where it's already extremely impoverished, but yet the idea that the government is going to continue to try to oppress the people even more by taxing them as well as removing some of the benefits they have there as far as Social Security is concerned. So as always, I'm going to share with you a couple articles or whatnot on what's happening down in Nicaragua. But more importantly, if you have not, I want you to take the time to click the subscribe button as well as the notification tab to be informed of future news updates as well as live streams. And if you have not, follow me on Twitter, where I also post articles throughout the day on matters such as this. And so let's dive into the very first article here. It says Nicaragua's president withdraws Social Security reforms that sparked violent unrest. And this came out as of yesterday. Give you an idea what's going on here. It says the welfare reform package proposed by Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega that set off days of deadly protests has been canceled. It says in a televised national address, Ortega said the board of Nicaragua's Social Security system had voted to revoke the measures that were approved last week. It says a sweeping pension overhaul plan that increases contributions for workers and employers but lowers overall benefits. The changes sparked demonstrations Wednesday that escalated into several days of violent anti-government demonstrations. His quote is saying, "The protests have killed at least 7 people and injured hundreds more," Ortega said in a message to his country. It says, but a local human rights group, the Nicaraguan Human Rights Office, says that at least 25 people have been killed in the clashes. So next article here says Nicaragua riots. U.S. State Department pull embassy staff out of the country amid mass violence. So here's a video here to give you more insight as to what it's like on the streets there over the past weekend. But it says the United States Department is pulling some of its embassy staff and their families out of Nicaragua following days of deadly riots in the country. It says the U.S. State Department also raised threat level for Nicaragua following the deadly protests and is urging Americans to reconsider any travel plans to the country. The embassy in Managua will no longer provide services to the public except for emergencies or by phone. Quoted as saying, violent crimes such as sexual assault and armed robbery is common. A notice from the state read, says police presence and emergency response are immediately limited outside of the major urban areas. Next article here says U.S. pulling staffers out of Nicaragua as riots, looting intensify. So it gives you more insight as to what's happening down there on the streets. But it says here the rallies, some led by students, other by workers and business leaders, have also targeted the iron grip Ortega has held on power since winning the presidency in 2007 with only 38% of the vote. Says Ortega's overwhelming victory since that time has been dismissed by foes as a product of fraudulent elections. So Ortega's vice president is his wife, Rosario Murillo. Says, quote, the protests are no longer just for the pension. They are against a government that denies us freedom of expression, freedom of press, and to demonstrate peacefully, political science student Clifford Ramirez said. Says the State Department warned that the rallies have been met by tear gas, pepper spray, and sometimes live ammunition. Says dozens have been killed in the protest, the Associated Press reported. So more information there. And then what's most tragic is this article here. It says Nicaraguan journalist shot dead on Facebook Live while covering protests. So just a little bit of what's happening down in Nicaragua. Thought I would share this with you. But at the end of the day, it is a third world country that is the second most impoverished country right behind Haiti. And then you have the government there imposing an increase on Social Security tax and then also cutting benefits by about 5% or so. So you can imagine how that will piss a lot of people off to where, you know, unfortunately they will take to the streets and cause a lot of problems there. But just the idea of what will happen when the government is strapped for cash and they need to cut back on some of the promises as well as some of the benefits that they no longer are able to provide in the form of payouts as well as welfare and things of that nature. So that's just what's happening in Nicaragua. So the question would be, what do you think will happen on a massive scale if the United States of America was to face such a crisis where the mere hint of reform in regards to pension and an increase in tax or Social Security tax out of your paycheck was even mentioned. How do you think the public will respond with that one? So just want to leave you something to think about. Other than that, let me know your thoughts down below. Look forward to bringing you more news and updates. Enjoy your day.
Is the next recession?
Recession will be.
Will be a recession.
We're going to hit a recession.
The date of the next recession.
A U.S.-only recession typically lasts 8 to 10 months, but a lot of things about this particular one have not been typical. So
A crash is coming. Now, whether it's 6 months from now, 12 months, 36 months, no one knows.
I go to bed every night, I dream of another recession. If you know what to do, if you have the right plan to set up, you can make a lot of money from this.